my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back. It is your Feel Good Breakfast Show. It's Expresso on S3, and you are just in time as we have another health conversation on our Health Tuesday. Now, our next guest is urologist Dr. Alison Moore, who joins us for an insightful conversation about urinary tract infections, also known as UTIs. Now, we've been going to explore and discuss the symptoms, causes, and prevention strategies featuring the effectiveness of CITRO soda. Dr. Alison, it's so great to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
There are so many reasons and factors that could cause a UTI, but perhaps you can give us some of those common causes.
Sure. UTI, I think it's important just to remember that the whole kind of urinary tract, unfortunately, can get an infection, but bladder infections is definitely the most common. Kidney infections also happen, so there'll be causes of kidney infections that are different from bladder, but I'll be focusing on bladder because that's really where the focus is. And I'll be speaking about women specifically because that's really, unfortunately, the population who gets the most UTIs. But we can chat about men as well because it's also important. So causes, I split into premenopausal and postmenopausal.
Okay.
I think it's really important for the different groups of women to think about their risk factors differently. Unfortunately, for young women, premenopausal women, when young women start being sexually active, that's when UTIs can start pitching up. And it's not that partners are doing anything wrong. It's just, unfortunately, that we disrupt the normal, healthy ecosystem that's living there. So other risk factors include having had UTIs as a child, your mom having had UTIs. There's definitely some family link, some genetic link. And then, unfortunately, we're not using as many spermicides, but things like spermicides are certainly a risk. And there's definitely behavioral things that we as women need to be careful about. So we'll be discussing prevention later, and I'll go into a bit more detail about the ways that we can prevent things, but there's certainly things we need to do with our behavior.
And you do want to nip a UTI in the butt as it starts because it can quickly spread, like you said, to the kidneys.
100%.
So what are some of those symptoms if someone is perhaps feeling uncomfortable, but they haven't pretty much figured out, hang on, this is a UTI that I'm experiencing for the first time?
Absolutely, 100%. So it can be a bit confusing, especially if you haven't drank enough fluid that day and you're a bit dehydrated. So most women, if they haven't had a lot of water, the wee will feel a little bit burny or a little bit uncomfortable if it's really concentrated. But a bladder infection tends to feel like a severe burn. It can feel like it's at the vagina initially, and then the tummy can get a bit sore as well. But very frequent passage of urine, a strong urge that you don't feel you can delay going to the loo, and there can be blood in the wee sometimes, that you can actually see it with your eyes. It's not so common, but it can certainly happen. But the frequency, urgency, and burning are really the kind of three big important bits.
And when it comes to prevention, of course, we want to prevent it as much as possible.
Yep.
Are there ways we can, make sure we are, maintaining our ecosystem down there healthy to prevent it from happening? Or can you only start addressing it when you are experiencing those symptoms?
So there certainly are things we can do to prevent getting UTIs, 100%. So the behavior change, the most important thing for women is to be aware of correct wiping techniques. So again, I know it's not nice to go into all the details, but moms are always telling their little girls, don't wipe from back to front, and it's a really good idea to stay away from that. Bubble baths can be irritating, certain types, in terms of the vaginal flora. I think it's also important to be aware of the way that we drink fluids. So there's good evidence that if you're drinking less than 1.5 liters of fluid per day, and water is certainly the most important thing to drink, that there's a higher rate of getting UTIs. And then delaying going to the loo and passing urine. So there's no exact rules, but we're all busy and we can end up drinking too little and holding our wee for 6 hours, and suddenly it's the end of the workday and you realize you haven't gone to the loo. So passing urine after being sexually active, and passing urine regularly during the day are all important kind of behavior change mechanisms.
Definitely. Now, you know, you hear old wives' tale when you know, someone says, oh, I've got a bit of a UTI. Someone will say, oh, you must drink cranberry juice. What are your thoughts on homemade remedies?
Sure. So there is a lot of evidence which helps us, but the problem is the studies are quite varying. So cranberry products, cranberry juice, cranberry capsules, cranberry powders, there is some evidence that supports it, but there's some that's a little bit uncertain. So I think what I generally say to my woman is that we don't know an exact dose, and we don't know how long you need to take it for. But if you have got your first time UTI, it's certainly worth a try. You can drink the juice, they say a whole cup. Some people are saying 3 cups a day. That's a lot of sugar, so it's difficult to tell. But other things that people will try include herbal remedies that one can get over the counter. There's people that drink lemon juice and water and ginger and water. There's a whole bunch of things. My take home for my patients is to drink a lot of water when you feel you're getting a UTI. And things like ibuprofen, your anti-inflammatories, are good to try. And some of my patients will try citrus soda and other urine alkalinizing agents. But in the end, if you feel like your symptoms are progressing, see a GP, get your urine tested, and often antibiotics are necessary.
Well, Dr. Alison Moore, thank you for joining us today, and thank you for giving us all that insight. And if you are, you know, safeguarding, and that is all why we're having these conversations, to make sure we safeguard our own health, specifically our urinary health. Now, you can stand the chance to win 5,000 Rand in cash this week with CITRO soda. All you have to do is tell us, why do you rely on CITRO soda to relieve you from indigestion and heartburn? You can use that hashtag CITRO soda in your entry. That is on our social media platforms, Facebook, X, and Instagram. And the competition post will close on Monday, the 27th of October, in fact, November, at midnight. Those T's and C's do apply.